we as entrepreneurs, we get on that ride.
That's one of the things that you have to focus the most in making sure that you're solving the right problem.
And we don't even know what's coming because we think that it's gonna be a road. And what it is a roller coaster.
Well, it's too late. I'm dead.
You have to know what's your ambition. You have to be intentional about what is it that you actually want.
It's 90% mindset and 10% work.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the AbadAssLife podcast. For those of you who are new to the channel, my name is Andrew Abad. I'm your host. This channel is all about helping you create your own badass life, whatever that looks like to you. And we want to help you craft that life by bringing you people who are experts on their field or are becoming experts on their field to give you the information you need, the tips and tricks as to how to conquer this journey, right? This entrepreneurship journey, whatever journey you're on. And today is a very special episode because we have someone that is extremely special to me. He's become a very good friend, a very, very good friend. And he's a great entrepreneur, but not only that, he's a great father. He's a great husband. He pours his soul into the community and helps the Hispanic and Latin community here in Ocala and in other places more that I've seen. Way more people. But without further ado, Julian Siniestra, what's up, brother? Thanks for being here today, man.
So how do I even follow that up? It's a wrap. Thank you very much for coming. No, thank you so much for the invitation. I think that it's an honor. Obviously, you're very highly regarded in our community. I'll give you that, not because you're here in front of me, but you are a great entrepreneur, also a family man. So I appreciate the words. And something that kind of touched me right in your intro is you're talking about that entrepreneur journey, right? And I think that we forget that being an entrepreneur is not really a road. You know what it's like? When I was about 6 years old, when I was about 8, 9 years old, and I had just come to this country, right? From Colombia, I'm Colombian. And the first time that I ever went to a theme park, never been to one. I was like, what the heck is this? This is crazy, right? And my dad was like, look at that. That is a roller coaster. I was like, wow, what the heck is a roller coaster? Don't even think about it, right? Just got on fearless. So the last time that I rode a roller coaster for about 5 years after that. and it kind of reminds me of that entrepreneur journey. Because a lot of times we as entrepreneurs, we get on that ride and we don't even know what's coming because we think that it's going to be a road. And what it is a roller coaster. Because one day we're all the way up here, man. I made my first sale. I got my 10th client. And then the next day, bam, we hit the drop. My stomach's up there, right? I've got $100 in the account and I got $2,000 worth of bills coming due tomorrow. And what do? And then 2 days after that, we're back up again. So I thought it was interesting, the entrepreneur journey. And I want to say more the entrepreneur roller coaster, which is a beautiful thing anyway.
No, that's the perfect analogy. I mean, as you know, I've had businesses pretty much my whole life. And yes, it's a roller coaster journey to say the least. I mean, I think one of the things that have helped me get through a good part of this journey, and of course I have a ton ahead, is just to learn to take it all in and enjoy the lows, right? Because it's really easy to be all excited and be passionate and be like, yes, life is great when you're riding the highs.
Yes.
But when you're in the lows and the lows take longer than you're supposed to, that's when you really, have to dig deep and say okay, is this something that I want to do? Is this something that I want to put myself through? It's a treacherous ride, man. It's tough.
Well, I'll give you something that may resonate with some of our veteran entrepreneurs out there. There's something that we got taught in the service. And I think that we used to think, I was a Navy guy, go Navy. And I thought it was only unique to us. But after I got out and I started interacting with other veterans from other branches, it's a common theme. And the theme was embrace the suck. Embrace the suck. What does that mean? We're in a situation that sucks. But you know what? We're going to embrace it. And we're going to live in it. And we're going to be present. and we're not going to concentrate on how much it sucks. As a matter of fact, we're going to turn that around and embrace the suck. And I think that's a powerful statement.
I think that's just life, right? But here's one thing, like you said, and I've heard this like in multiple podcasts, multiple people, multiple top entrepreneurs. It's like normally, as a rule of thumb, military background, athlete background, any competitive type of sport or discipline makes for a good entrepreneur because you're used to losing. Like you're used to getting punched in the face. Like if you're a boxer, you know what I mean?
Adversity.
Like, adversity. Yeah. And that's what forges like tougher people. It's the saying. It's like smooth seas never made the skilled sailor.
No,
right?
Absolutely not.
And so like by going through all that adversity, by having that discipline that normally the military career gives you or they instill in you, right? And by being an athlete, like you are like in a way used to defeat. Like you have to do, like if you take, for example, like I'm not like a huge basketball fan or anything, but like
Go Heat.
Steve Curry, right?
Yes.
One of the best 3-pointers like ever, I think, right? The guy has missed thousands and thousands and thousands of throws before he can accomplish whatever that percentage is. And so like doing the same thing over and over and over and over again and sucking at it over and over and over and over again until you get better is that one thing that I think most of us don't really see through completion, which is why like we, don't ever like actually achieve our full potential or don't get to where we want to go because we kind of like quit before we like have paid our dues, right?
Well, you know what that is? It's not just discipline, because having discipline without structure still won't get you where you need to be. I think having the structure or creating structure, because a lot of times, let's take your example of an athlete, right? In sports, whether you're amateur or professional, the athlete, which has talent, they have the discipline, they have the drive, right? But the team gives them the structure so that the athlete is like this, focused on what they have to do. And every day they know exactly what they have to do, when they have to do it, how they have to do it, and why they have to do it. It's that structure right there. And I think that when you look at that in the world of sports, which is a great analogy, and you translate that into the entrepreneur world, right? A lot of people focus on the hustle and putting in the time, right? How many times have we seen online, social media? If you're not working 18-hour days, man, you're not doing it. You're not going to make it. Hey, I just went through 48 hours straight of hustling, working. Yeah, and they celebrate that, right? They celebrate that. But are we really talking about the structure? Not just the discipline, but the structure, the processes, the procedures. Are we creating that? How do we create that? And I think a lot of entrepreneurs that go into the business world, they take that for granted, especially if you worked like I did. I started in the corporate world before I became an entrepreneur. So I went from military to corporate to then entrepreneurship, right? And the common denominator between my first two phases was that structure. When I was in the military, hey man, it's like clockwork. I don't even have to think. All I have to do is do, right? And the discipline comes from doing day after day after day after day, right? Because if you don't practice, then nothing happens. And then I go into the corporate structure, into corporate world, and again, I'm a cog in the machine. This is my role. Even when you have different roles, when you're empowered in a corporate structure to develop yourself and go, you're still within a structure. And then all of a sudden, I get the bright idea to say, man, I'm sick of corporate. I'm gonna make it on my own. And I go out on my own and I start falling flat on my face. And I have the discipline, I have the drive, right? But why am I failing? Why am I burning out? Why is it that I just put in 14, 16 hours in my business and I didn't do anything? And I feel like I didn't accomplish crap.
You didn't have the structure.
I didn't have the structure. And I think that's a lot that a lot of entrepreneurs don't pay enough attention to that.
I think a lot of us just get, like you said, caught up in like the grind culture and the hustle culture, especially like younger kids nowadays, right? Like it's very easy to get influenced by like what you see that a lot of other people are doing.
Correct.
And like whether it is these facet of like the grind culture or anything else, like, and like you said, I think like the measure as to how it should be, like your KPI should be your productivity. It shouldn't be how long you worked. Because
Right.
there are certain people that we have the structure that can get done what you get done in 12, 14, 16,
That's
18
right.
hours. They could probably get it done in a fourth of the time or a third of that time.
Absolutely.
Just because they're more focused, they are intentional about what they're doing. They're focusing on solving the right problems. And I think like as an entrepreneur, like that's one of the things that you have to focus the most in making
Correct.
sure that you're solving the right problems, right? Because there's always going to be a million problems.
Always.
But there is like those that are like very detrimental to your business right now, right here, right now.
Correct.
And there are those that will come, those that you haven't taken care of, but are not as detrimental. But what was it for you? At least when did you realize that you were probably like spinning your wheels or like doing all this stuff without a structure? Like, was there any aha moment or anything that made you realize that?
Oh yeah, the aha moment was that I was broke as heck, and I'm stressed the heck out. And you start questioning, why did I even go on this journey, right? And I think, look, I think business entrepreneurship is 90% mindset and 10% work. I really believe in that. I think that we sometimes have gone into entrepreneurship, into business with an old mindset. And this is what I mean. All throughout, right? Let's go back 60s, 70s, 80s, even to the 90s. Working hard in an office setting, 8-hour workdays. That's how we were measured, 8, 9, 10-hour workdays, right? So I'm supposed to be productive for 8, 9, or 10 hours. Okay? Mm-hmm. They're not looking at results, really. They're looking at, is this guy busy? Why? Because the company's looking at, I'm paying this guy per hour. I need to see him busy every single hour, right? So, and this has been studied by science. The human mind is a beautiful thing, but the human mind adapts. If you give a person 8 hours to complete a task, a lot of times, they'll take 8 hours to complete the task. If you give that same person the same task, but you tell them, hey, you got 2 hours to do it, guess what? All of a sudden, that task got done in 2 hours, right? This is what happens. And I go through this with my teenage son and my baby. Hey, you got a report due in 2 months. I'll get to it, blah, blah, blah. And then lo and behold, we're here the night before the report and he just did 2 months worth of work in 3 hours. And I'm like, what the heck, right? So mindset, I think, plays a lot into it. And I think that the same shift that occurred to me mentally that made me decide to go into entrepreneurship is what made me switch over and say, hey, man, I'm lacking structure, which is I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired, right? Where I'm doing the same things over and over again, man, and I'm getting the same results, and that result sucks. What the heck? But wait a minute, I'm looking at everybody else and what they're doing, right? And I'm doing what they're doing. And we buy into that because, again, especially through social media, social media is a highlight reel. They always show you the good. They always show you the success. They always show you the nice things, right? So they'll show you the 2 hours, the 1 hour, the 15 minutes of, hey, man, I'm great, I made it. But they don't show you the 3 months of failures and stumbles and frustrations and stuff. So I realized, I just came to that realization of, man, this is just not working. I'm banging my head against the wall and I'm getting the same result. And I'm done with that. I'm smarter than that. What the heck are we doing? So I started really looking not at processes per se, but as results, like you said. And I stopped looking at what other people were doing. And I started to say, what's my process? So you work backwards and say, what's my goal? Where I want to get to? And let me reverse engineer it and say, okay, this step back and then this step back and then this step back.
How long did it take you into your entrepreneurship, journey to realize that, like, okay, I want more whatever you want to call the structure, whatever that entails, right? Because like a lot of people sometimes say, or they've asked me, okay, like you want me to have a structure, or you want me to do this, or you want me to do that. Well, what does that entail? Does that entail having like certain SOPs? Like, does that entail having like the right KPIs for, like what does it entail? Or at least what did it entail for you? And what did it take to change that and make it more structured?
Well, I think that it encompasses everything that you just said.
Mm-hmm.
But more importantly, we have to understand as a human being, we're our own worst critics. Nobody is harder on myself than me.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of us are like that, right?
Yeah.
Not everybody's cut out for entrepreneurship, and we have to recognize that. Not to rain on people's parades, but not everybody's meant to be a business owner or an entrepreneur. And that's okay if you're not, right? You have you do have to have a certain mindset. You got to be kind of off. You can't be right in the head to be doing this stuff, man, right? So you talk about KPIs and you talk about processes and you ask, well, how long did it take you until you actually got to that point? And my answer to that, honestly, is that I'm still working on it because it's an ongoing journey. It's an evolution. Right? Why? Clients change, the market changes, products and services change, technology changes. We're in a constant stage of evolution, right? We have to be constantly evolving, and that includes our processes, our procedures, our KPIs, the way that we see things. It has to be a constant. So to me, it's not, well, here, let me put it to you this way. My main process is to reevaluate my processes and change as needed. What are we talking about? Wait a minute. Let's not get all Confucius on this, man. Let's not get weird. What it means is this. It's important to come up with processes and procedures. And the key word here is to simplify. I want to simplify my life as much as possible. So when I'm looking at a process, when I'm coming up with KPIs tied to a process, which is tied to an end result that I want to make it as simple as possible. But I also need to be cognizant that I cannot be stuck on that process, because that's a danger that a lot of entrepreneurs face, is that you come up with a process, right? And it works for a while, and then you're stuck with it. And then something changes, man, and we're so resistant to change, right? And then what happens is that now you're all frustrated again. The stuff's not working as much. And then the initial reaction is, it was working before, it's not working as much now. I just got to work harder, right? No, maybe you got to change the process because maybe something else changed on it.
Yeah, it's just like in our area when it comes to media and like social media, it evolves every single day. What was working yesterday doesn't work today. What was work today might not be working tomorrow.
That's right.
So, it's like you said, an ever evolving, everlasting evolution,
right?
That if you're not like in love with like continuing it, like continue learning, right. If you're not in love with the thing, whatever the thing is, right? Whether, you are a roofer or you are a plumber or you do media or you do sales, whatever it is, like it especially in this day and age now with AI.
Oh,
and
buddy.
Like the people that are like harnessing the power of AI, like there's like almost like these two sides, and you see a lot of people being fearful and scared. It's like, oh, AI is going to replace us. And then you have like these other people here that are actually harnessing the power of AI to make them more productive. Correct. And like to let you accomplish more and to do things so fast like you ever thought possible. And if you don't do certain things to compete, because at the end of the day, it's like you are in a marketplace that whether you like it or not,
that's right,
there's a ton of other people doing the same thing that you're doing.
Every single day, every single hour, somebody's coming up with the next great idea or the next great pivot or evolution, right?
And if you don't keep up, you're going to be left behind.
That's right.
So there's this one thing too, and it's also something that I think it's one of the most important things as an entrepreneur is you have to be true to yourself. You have to know like what's your ambition. You have to be intentional about like what is it that you actually want.
That's right.
Because otherwise, like if you compare yourself to like the next person or the next entrepreneur or the other one, it's never gonna, you're almost never gonna have like a good resolution from doing that, right?
You have to walk your own journey, right? And a lot of times we wind up walking somebody else's journey because we're copying. Oh, hey, this guy made millions. This guy's a success. This guy's an influencer, whatever. Common sense logic will say, I'm gonna do what he did so that I can get like that, right? That's not our journey. We're not really listening to our journey, right? I think that the better question, it's not what you want. I think that's a fair question, but I think the better question to me is, what's the why? Why?
Yeah, what's your purpose?
Right. Why do you want to do what you do? And not even that. Why are you on this journey, right? And it takes a while to figure that out, man. And sometimes it changes.
So, and that's okay, right?
And that's all right. But again, it's an evolving. This is why it's an entrepreneur journey, right? It's a road. We don't stop. We keep on. Yeah. And it takes you to different places, right? And sometimes it's like riding the bus. The bus is always going to go. Different people get on the bus in different stops, and different people get off the bus at different stops. And that's the same thing. Our life is a journey, right? But identifying the why, and the why is not money. 80% of people say, "Why you do that?" But I'm trying to get, I'm trying to money. No, that's not the real why. It could be a result of the why, but let's dig in a little deeper, right? Look, I think that business, entrepreneurship is an emotional journey. Okay, so we have to listen to that emotion. And let's take it to sales for a second. People buy on emotion and then they justify it with logic. That's true. It's proven, right? Yeah, I don't know logical that no, brother. People buy on emotion and then they'll justify that purchase with logic. That's marketing 101, right? So when I'm looking back and saying, man, why do I do what I do? Why would I want to go on this journey? That answer has to be an emotional answer, right? That's spiritual. It's in there. My why is time and freedom. You see? What do I want? Why do I do what I do? Because I want freedom, but I want freedom of time. If I have freedom of time, that means that my financials are taken care of because I'm free to do what I want, right? That means that I'm able to do what I want, when I want, how I want. It's an emotion, you see? And then you start working backwards. Now we bring in the logic of, okay, what do I need to have that freedom of time? Well, I need financial stability. What do I need for financial stability? I need my business to grow. What do I need my business to grow? And then here come our KPIs, here come our processes, here come our procedures.
Yeah, no, I agree.
But the why is it. And we cannot forget, we can't discount how emotional the entrepreneurship journey is. I think, mental health is an issue with entrepreneurs, but nobody talks about it. The rate of depression in entrepreneurship is 2 to 3 times as much as the general population. Did you know that?
I live in my own bubble, and to be quite frank with you, like now, because of like how the algorithms work and stuff like that, like a lot of the content that I'm fed is like the opposite of that culture. Absolutely. Right? It's like a lot of the content that I get fed through YouTube, Facebook, and all this stuff is like it doesn't matter. Like,
no.
At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Like you can be depressed as a man. You have to get up and do what you have to do.
Well, here's the thing. As a man, because then we get into culture, right?
I agree.
Whether a Hispanic culture or whatever culture, then we get into, hey, if you're a man, you're not supposed to be depressed. What's wrong with you? That's weak. You're not supposed to be sad. What's wrong with you? That's weak. Or it doesn't matter. You need to be able to brush it aside and do what you got to do, man up, be a man, blah, blah, blah. But we're not robots. We're not robots.
Sure.
So a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of men, young men, how do you reconcile that? Because as an entrepreneur, when you're riding that roller coaster, there's going to be days, man, that it sucks. And you're like, man, I got to look myself in the mirror at 3 o'clock in the morning and I'm stressed out and I'm sad and I'm frustrated, but I'm not supposed to be.
You know what's worked for me, and I've tried to explore both like sides of the fence, right? So like I've tried to explore like the Goggins method. So it's like you don't,
Hey,
it doesn't matter. You
who's
keep
gonna carry the
going.
boats, bro?
Yeah, right. And I've also like tried to explore the Simon Sinek stuff of the world.
Sure,
Like you're
sure.
compassionate and you,
Yeah.
you know, like put yourself through a healthy discipline and you're like all this stuff.
Mhm.
And like I think what really works is like different things work for different people. And you have to put yourself in an environment of people that like you look up to and that they have what you want to achieve, and then see what they did and then see if that's something that works for you. Because for example, I am not like, let's say if I'm feeling all down or whatever, and I go talk to a friend of mine,
Yes.
and my friend's like, oh, it's okay, just take the week off or take the day off or whatever. A lot of the times that advice doesn't sit well with me.
It'll add more stress to you.
Yeah, it's like, okay, well, I'm feeling like this. If I take another day off or another week off,
Not
like,
resolving the issue.
I'm not solving the issue. I'm going to come back next week with the same problem.
That's right.
Probably feeling a little bit better because I was able to distract myself, but the issue's still going to be there. I'm going to go right back to feeling the way I was feeling. Right. So like for me, it's like you have to surround yourself with people that think very similar to you or that are going to give you the advice that in a way is going to work for you. Like I think that's what's worked for me in that sense.
And I agree with that too. Yeah, I agree with that to a certain extent. I'll give you this perspective. If we surround ourselves with the people that, like you said, think kind of alike and stuff like that, sometimes we need a different perspective coming in. Right?
I agree.
And sometimes, yes, working through a problem may be the right answer, but sometimes stepping away from the problem and actually taking some time off may be the right answer. I think the actual correct answer is know yourself, right? But know yourself for real.
Yeah.
And that's a hard thing to do.
Easy. Mm-hmm.
It's a hard thing to look yourself in the mirror, strip away the ego and the pride and the machismo and all the stuff that has been heaped and we've learned over the years, and say, okay, man, who the heck are you? What makes you tick? What are your feelings? What are your emotions? Right? What are your triggers?
Yeah.
And then, okay, what's going to work for me? Let me try this. Let me try that. Experimentation, right? And then you start figuring out more or less what actually works.
More about
what
what works for you,
right?
What doesn't.
But because it's so different than the norm, right? Having an open mind is so important. Yeah. This is a time where I would say we shouldn't be copying what other people are doing, because that's their journey, is their mind. And as a matter of fact, half of the time we don't even know what's really in there anyway, because they're gonna show us what they want to show us.
Yeah.
We don't know what's in there.
A lot of the times they don't know what's in there.
Absolutely not, because they buy into, well, I gotta be like this.
Yeah.
And I gotta be like that. My answer to that, and we have these conversations now as a father. It's a very difficult thing, because I'm like, man, I'm like this. I'm dealing with my own crap, and I got another human being that's depending on me to show them. I don't even know. They don't come with dude. I can't even Google that.
And they're watching,
right?
They're watching everything you're doing.
The conversation now is, man, I'll give you some direction and some perspective, but you got to follow your path, and you got to look at yourself. And you have to be, okay, who the heck am I? What's in here? And it's okay if it's not the same as your father or your grandfather or your uncle or Goggins or whoever.
Or even what you thought you wanted a year ago or 6 months ago or 2 years ago, right? Like it's one thing that I heard. Just like, it's okay to want to go and fight the battle, take the hill, but you got to know what the hill is first, right?
Yes.
And it's okay that it might change sometimes.
Absolutely. Sometimes we're climbing the wrong hills, and that's all right.
Mm-hmm.
Again, number one, we're our own worst critic. We have to be kind to ourselves. You have to be realistic, and you have to be straight with yourself and say, hey, man, sometimes you're eating crap, bro. I'm going to look at myself in the mirror and say, you're eating crap. You're full of crap. You're messing up. But sometimes you also have to have the other conversation, which is, you know what? You messed up, but that's okay. You're still loved. You're still a good person. It's going to be all right. We'll fix it. That does not define you, right? I tell my sons all this all the time. What you do is not who you are. The actions do not define you. They could, but they don't have to. Because it's very easy to go into that negative space.
Yeah.
Right? And sometimes we do have to be kind to ourselves first before you can be kind to others. That's a hard thing to do.
Man, it goes so complex into it, and we can stay here and talk about it forever, because like you go into that and you go into feelings and emotion and mental health and addiction.
Right.
Like there's
Right.
so much that comes with it, and like there's so much that we still learn day in and day out how to react to certain feelings. There's so much that happens. Like you said, it's the roller coaster, and that just amplifies everything. It's
Right.
like once you have to deal with that, with all those emotions, it's like it 10x the roller coaster, right?
But then you also, you can't fall into the trap of overthinking.
Yeah.
We can't overanalyze. We can't overthink. We have to simplify. And just like in entrepreneurship and business, paralysis by analysis. Sometimes I think about something too much. And then you know what happens? There's no action.
Yeah.
It goes with this as well. It goes with this, and it goes with work. Yeah, do your due diligence. Look at the things, but hey, there's got to come a point in time. Where's the action? What are we doing? And we got to do something.
Yeah.
And the worst thing that can happen is that it wasn't the right thing. We've screwed up. Okay, fine. What do we learn? There's always lessons, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's always lessons to be learned, even in the biggest mistakes that we make. Boom, reset. Let's take the next action.
Let me ask you something. Speaking of the whys and all the things that make us tick, and what made you start the HBC, the Alianza Hispana? You, after being an entrepreneur yourself, having to deal with all of that on your own, being a husband and having your marriage and having kids and pretty much having your plate full, with your own stuff.
Yes.
What gave you the final push to say like, okay, I want to do this? And for those people out there who don't know, just give them the context. What is the Hispanic Business Council? What is the Alianza Hispana?
So, middle of COVID, myself and a couple others, Esmerna Caraballo, Juan Jaramillo, we didn't have anything else better to do. That's sarcasm, by the way. And we decided to form, at first it was a networking group. We're all Hispanic. We all come from other places. So specifically here, we're Ocala, Marion County. A lot of us have relocated here from major cities, right?
Mm-hmm.
I come from Miami. Juan came from Miami. She came from Cleveland, Ohio. We come over here, and on the surface, and I'll take you through this journey, right? On the surface, the creation of the Hispanic Business Council, which is a nonprofit organization that is in this community to help connect, educate, and give resources to our Hispanic minority business owners and entrepreneurs, right? That's who we are. The initial cause of that was a lack of diversity in our market. I always look at things in business terms. That's my perspective, my lens. Mm-hmm. I see a need in the market. Is there a product or service that can fill it? That's an automatic business. Let's go. Bang, right? And we'll figure it out. So on the surface, I saw that there was no other group of people that look like us, that sound like us, that have our experiences, that were working together, coming together, and assisting each other. There's nothing there. There's a few of us. Why don't we try it, start it up, right? Entrepreneurship in action. In reality, once I look back on it, the real reason, the why is, if we don't help each other, who else is going to help us? Right? Mm-hmm. I was fortunate when I started my business that there were people around me that did give me the hand, that gave me the advice, that gave me the encouragement, that actually shook me up and said, hey, you're screwing up. Don't do that. Do this. And then I started thinking, how many others don't have that? How many others could actually benefit from having that, right? Entrepreneurship has been good to me. I've had my ups and downs, I still do. But being a business owner has provided for my family, has given me a sense of purpose. It's a beautiful thing, especially in our community. As an immigrant, right, we have different challenges. We face a different path, right? a lot of us come from nothing. And that perspective is very difficult for somebody else to grasp. I remember growing up on streets that had no pavement. I remember having to shower out of a hose. Cold as hell, bro.
Me too. I was there.
And I know you got me.
We are neighbors. I'm from Ecuador.
That's
you're
right.
From Colombia.
We're from Colombia.
It's like culture's very
Exactly.
similar.
So when you come to a place that has such abundance, and look, the US is not perfect, and we have our issues, and we have our problems, and blah, blah, freaking blah, right? But we're in a place of abundance. Why wouldn't you want to take that abundance, man, and provide for your family? That's the essence of entrepreneurship. And I'm seeing our community with the opportunity to embrace that entrepreneurship, but they're getting tripped up and nobody's there to pick them up and help them. I've already done it. I need to give back. You see, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, I feel that I have an obligation to give back to the community from which I take. Because all of us business owners, we take from the community. Come on now, let's not get it twisted, right?
Yeah,
we do. Products and services, I'm charging for them. You're paying me, I'm taking from the community. But why not give at least one other person the opportunity that I had to make something? That's the real why. You see? Again, entrepreneurship, business ownership is a beautiful thing. It's not for everybody, but it's a beautiful thing. But it's hard, man. It's hard. Physically, emotionally, psychologically, it is hard. If we're able to come in and say, man, I'm going to give you a little bit of a push, right? There's no better satisfaction than that. I get a lot of satisfaction, a lot of self-fulfillment from seeing somebody go from down here to get their first client, 10 clients, hired their first employee, they got 5 or 10. It's not even about the revenue, it's the growth. It's a beautiful thing.
All the lessons that you learn throughout,
Brother.
Growing your company, growing your business,
Exactly.
managing people,
Exactly. And I think that idea also incubated when I was in the service. Remember, in the service, they teach us to be a unit. You don't leave anybody behind. There's no man left behind on that, right? We all help each other. We all push each other up onward towards the mission and the vision, right? As a unit, we're all a brotherhood, sisterhood. Why not in the entrepreneur world?
If you're an expert on any field or a successful entrepreneur who wants to be featured in our podcast,
I loved it.
make sure you click the link below, fill out the application, tell us a little bit about yourself. If we're a good fit, somebody from our team will reach out to you.
What's up? What's up? Hey, what's up? What's up?
And you need to get ready to start inspiring our audience and become a part of the AbadAssLife podcast. I'll see you soon. Actually, Simon Sinek touches into that a lot in one of his books. I think it's Leaders Eat Last. He talks about how and why the U.S. military is so successful, like achieving their missions and getting things done, right? And it's because like everybody bought into a vision. Everybody is there for the other person, not for themselves, but for the other person.
Well, it's a mindset change.
And he talks about how different corporate America would be if like some of these principles and values would be instilled into that, right?
Well, if you see that some of the most successful CEOs have a military background, right? Servant leadership is a term that is not widely used, but it should be. A servant leader is somebody that leads from the front, not from the back. You know, we've always seen the graphic. There's a 2 graphic where you have a guy in the back with the whip, right? And then you have the real leader in the front helping push. The servant leader is somebody that leads from the front and leads, right, with the purpose of empowering and uplifting those around them. That's leadership right there. You see? And that's what's taught usually in the military. Military is not a physical endeavor. A lot of people, especially like, you think about boot camp. Right? Boot camp is you go in there, man, and everybody's vision of boot camp is that they beat the hell out of you, man.
Yeah.
And you run and you don't sleep and you work out and push. Boot camp is actually a psychological training. A psychological training. What is the military doing? What they're doing is they're stripping down your psychological being, your ego, your pride, your self-worth. They're stripping it down.
Beliefs.
And they're going to build it up in their image. The reason why they work you out so much is through physical exhaustion. You stop fighting the internal mentality so much.
One of my my favorite guys that I follow is like extremely successful entrepreneur. It talks about how like whenever people ask him for advice, it's like, hey, we want to go start our own business. What should we do first? He talks about like go to the gym every single day for 6 months or a year, and then start your thing, right? And his thing is exhaust the body, tame the mind, right? It's something so simple, but it could be so helpful for like entrepreneurs, for everybody, right? It's just like building that discipline of doing something every single day, like getting your mind just like I personally, whenever I get consistent in that, can see my mind just clearing up so much and like not being foggy and like all these things that man, it's just we'll go through all of that another time. But like, yes, you're right, 1,000%. It's just changing, shifting your mindset.
It's like changing the chip. That's what we call it. You change the chip around. You know, we're creatures of habit. Human beings, since the days of the cavemen, we're creatures of habit and we're creatures of comfort, right? The hard part is creating new habits because we get comfortable. Yeah? This is where I go with Goggins. You know, I'm not going to bust up my chins like he did, but I am going to listen to what he says, right? In order to create new habits, you have to be uncomfortable, right? Through uncomfort comes growth, right? And we got to get out of that comfort zone. Yeah. Oh, I'll start my business when the economy gets better, or I'll do it when this or that, or, you know, I'll start going to the gym tomorrow. Or, hey, New Year's, right? New Year's resolution. Hey, Bobby, I'm in the gym every day. No. When are we doing it? Right now. Let's go. I'm uncomfortable. Doesn't matter. Suck it up. Embrace the suck.
It's never a thing such as the perfect time for it, right?
No, man, that's a myth. That's a myth. And you know what it is? We're giving ourselves those excuses because we're uncomfortable. We're uncomfortable. So when you're uncomfortable, your subconscious is fighting. It's that fight or flight. It's fighting you. So here come all the excuses. Here come all the reasons, right? And where the discipline and structure come in is to say, hey, I hear the excuse, but my discipline dictates that I'm going to do it anyway.
It's crazy how like we are our worst enemies when it comes to that, right?
Oh man, we do it to
because
ourselves.
we like to think that like our brain it's so like logical and so like you know, in reality it's not. Like all it cares is about survival.
That's it.
And like whenever it deems that you're putting yourself in a dangerous situation, whether it's physical or any type of danger or unknown, uncertain,
That's right.
And uncomfortableness, like it's going to try to divert you from that and not do it.
Absolutely.
Which is why a lot of people sometimes don't get in front of the cameras, don't do the thing for the business, don't do things in their personal lives that will help them.
And they're afraid. And you go through your whole life being afraid.
Yeah. Man, it's been so great talking to you. I do want to talk a little bit more about like the Alianza Hispana and Hispanic Business Council. Tell me, like, what is it that you guys do on as far as like networking and stuff like that? For a lot of people here in Ocala that may not know about you guys yet. When do you guys get together?
Sure.
What's the schedule like for 2025?
Oh, great question. It's amazing. It's awesome. I really enjoyed this journey. And I'll tell you, it's a nonprofit. So we built it as a nonprofit, but we run it as a business. This is very important for those of you out there that want to go into the nonprofit space. And a lot of people that are in the nonprofit space, usually when somebody is in a nonprofit, they do it because they have a big heart and they want to give back and they want to help, right?
Yeah, pay it forward to the community.
Absolutely. And that's a great why. But the how is also as important. And the how is you have to run it as a business. So to that end, right, we have strategy sessions, we have planning sessions, right? Mm-hmm. We are very structured. What we're looking at in 25 is a progression of where we've been going. It's because, again, it's a road, right? It's a journey. And our journey started as a networking group. Once a month, we'll meet up, we hang out, we talk crap, we help each other out, and we go, right? 2025, our journey has taken us to every month we meet in the evenings, first Thursday of the month, 5:30 p.m., usually at the Mary Sue Rich Community Center, and we have a big networking event right there every single month. So first Thursday of the month, 5:30 p.m., if you're not there, I don't know what the heck you're doing. In the mornings, we're going to do our meeting as well. So we have a HBC networking meeting in the morning in English, and then we have an HBC, Alianza Hispana meeting, networking in Español, in Spanish, in the evening. So I'm serving both sides of my community, right? We're planning between 20 to 30, and we're still kind of playing around with it, between 20 and 30 educational workshops. Why? Because we have 3 pillars: connect, educate, and resource, right? Connecting is all my networking events. Educating, which is the meat of the bone, is my workshops. And what do we do in the workshops? We teach entrepreneurs and business owners about business. And we do it in such a way that my 12-year-old can go in there and understand.
It's very simple.
It has to be very simple. It has to be, because the issue that we find in our community especially, we're very entrepreneurial. Hispanics, Latinos, hey, I can do it myself. Maybe it work for you. Man, what's wrong with you? I'm going to do it. And you could be the best carpenter. You could be the best masonry guy. You could be the best roofer. You could be the tech guy. But you know nothing about running a business. So what's going to happen in 6 months? You're going to go broke, and you're going to shut down, and you're going to be overwhelmed, and you're going to be bad spot.
The typical cases of wearing all the hats as an entrepreneur and then doing all of them in a mediocre fashion.
Absolutely.
Or half-assing it, 6 of them. And
or you ignore some of the fundamentals. Mm-hmm. Because again, you think you're good at what you do, but that's not all of there is to run a business.
Yeah, right? Just the craft. And that's why like a lot of like founders, entrepreneurs, whatever they are, right? Like if you go for a business, it's like something that you have experience in, or right, like some type of craft, or product or service. And honestly, until like the business reaches a certain level, that's all the entrepreneur or the founder should actually be focusing on. It's like beating on your craft, sharpening the sword, becoming better at that, and just outsource everything else.
That's it.
Like have someone that it's an expert on marketing, help you market your business. Have somebody that is an expert at finances, either be your fractional CFO or just give you like the tips and tricks as to how to do certain things.
That knowledge.
Have a CPA, have a bookkeeper, all those type of things. Yeah.
You know, the point here is, and we talked about structure earlier, the point of these workshops is to give the entrepreneur structure. This is how you're supposed to do it. This is how it works. And give them enough knowledge. I always like to say, you give them enough knowledge so they can be dangerous, right? But still encourage them to form a team around them. So I may be able to go to QuickBooks and run my own books. But after I've gone through different workshops and I understand the overall aspect, the perspective of running a business, I'm going to see why it's valuable to go and hire an accountant. Right? Because the overlying question always has to be, is this the best and most effective and efficient use of my time? Mm-hmm. The one resource that we have, which is the most valuable, is time. As an entrepreneur, we are tempted to do everything ourselves. Can we do everything ourselves? Maybe for a short period of time. Is that sustainable? Absolutely not. Are you going to grow? Absolutely not. Right? So we'll teach you the basics of it and all the areas, but we'll also teach you to identify when it's time to actually bring in an expert and rely on a team, and eventually get to the point where you can delegate and hire, right?
Because it should be the dream of every single business owner, every entrepreneur, right?
The dream of every single business owner, the purpose should not be, I am a carpenter, I should be working on the wood day after day after day. No, if that is your passion, then that's a hobby. The goal should be, I'm good at it. The goal should be that within a year or so, I'm going to have 3 carpenters working for me. I'm going to be out there looking for more business, innovating, looking for new products, looking for new services, shaking hands, building relationships, and actually growing the business. That's the real role of the entrepreneur. And sometimes we get caught in the day-to-day, right? So workshops are geared towards giving the entrepreneur and even a business owner that's been around for a while that refresher, that knowledge, right? We also do one-day seminars. We were very fortunate to have you in our last seminar. Thank you so much for that.
Of course.
All day long, and when we bring in different experts in different fields, right? And they teach and they give knowledge over an hour and a half to an audience over a whole day. So that's almost like a boot camp type of thing. So we're going to have a couple of those. We're looking at doing some vendor fairs so we can expose all of these great small micro businesses in our community to the general public, right? And we're going to go back. We did it a couple of years ago we're 2 years running, the Hispanic Festival, where we can celebrate culture, where we can celebrate our community. We can celebrate diversity, but inclusion. And I think this is something important, man, because this goes towards the heart of what HBC is, the Hispanic Business Council. Everybody, especially in corporate circles, right? And I may offend some now, but I am who I am.
Hey.
Hold on, let me shift. Diversity is a buzzword in corporate America. Everybody's looking for diversity, right? So I have a business and I need diversity. I'm going to hire a Hispanic. I'm going to hire an African American, and I'm going to hire a Chinese. Hey, look, I got diversity, right? But do I? Inclusion is what we're after. Diversity is not inclusion. Diversity is that I have different people working for me with different races, backgrounds, or whatever. Inclusion is that they're actually involved and they have a voice and they have representation. That's the goal of HBC in our Hispanic Latino community. We want inclusion. We don't want things given to us. We want to have the opportunity, just like everybody else, on a level playing field so we can earn it. And that has two parts. Leveling the playing field so that others around the city, the county, all the powers that be are able to extend the same opportunities to our entrepreneurs, but internally, our entrepreneurs need to learn how to play nice and how to do things the right way and legally and ethically with structure, with discipline, right? With purpose. So it's a two-way street. But diversity versus inclusion is what we need.
I think that's very powerful because there's a variety of reasons that, again, that's probably for another podcast to why, or six, as to why, certain things aren't happening the way they should be happening.
Right.
And also, like, we can only control what we do.
That's it.
So, like, teaching all of the people in our community, all of our entrepreneurs, that no matter what happens, no matter what the external influence is, as long as we do what we're supposed to do, as long as we do things right, as long as we make sure that we do the best that we can, eventually we will win.
Right.
We will get to the places that we need to be at.
Right.
We will get the contracts that we should be getting.
Maximize our businesses. It's the opportunity to maximize your potential, your business.
Yeah,
right?
but that's a vision that I think is one of the reasons why you guys have had like so much success with bringing the community together and having. I mean, like, I've been to several of your workshops. The atmosphere, the energy,
engagement, I love it.
Their engagement, it's something that I haven't seen in a lot of other groups, in a lot of other, like, even bigger conferences, workshops, whatever, right? And I think what you guys are building is going to be so powerful for not only here, the local community in like Ocala and Central Florida, but like once people like catch wind of what's happening here and you start inspiring other people in other states, in other cities, and start like pretty much just like replicating this model with the right vision, with the right ideas behind it, it will catch fire. I honestly do believe that.
Thank you. Thank you. I hope so.
You guys are doing much and putting in like so much effort in your own time, and you know, it just something that every single time that I go and I speak at the events or whatnot, I make sure that everybody knows, because it sometimes like it goes above our heads.
We don't
right?
do it
Like,
for ourselves, though. That's the thing. You know?
no, but there's still the level of recognition that has to be there, because like this is something very selfless that you guys are doing. You guys all are entrepreneurs. You guys are all have your own businesses, and you are taking a lot of time from your personal lives, from your business to do this. And so that being like the only non-renewable, you know, asset that we have, the only resource that we don't get back, our time. Like, I appreciate somebody giving me their time way more than I would appreciate Bill Gates giving me $1 million.
Yes, I agree with that 100%. But I also believe that if you give with no expectation of return, you'll always get back. I think we worry about the money too much, to be honest with you, just in general, humankind. I think that if you worry more about doing the right thing and putting it out there, right, giving with no expectation of return, you'll get taken care of. It'll come back. It'll be fine, right?
Yeah. No,
so that plus, I'm a little stubborn sometimes. I hope my wife's not watching this, because I just validated what she's been saying for 20 years. But that's another podcast right there, buddy. When somebody, which they have, says, you can't do that, you shouldn't do that, that's not how things are, that's not how it should be, I get a little chip on the shoulder, and then I got to go lead from the front, and then we got to go, bust them doors open.
We're very similar in that sense. You just reminded me of something like probably about 4 or 5 years ago. I was starting with my affiliate business, and there was a more experienced, bigger affiliate in the same niche.
Sure.
And he tried to discourage me from doing my own thing. He was like, hey, just become one of my affiliates.
Oh, yeah.
Like, don't
make me some money.
Don't lose the dollar chasing a nickel type thing. Like, you probably want to be able to do it anyway. And I think that fired me up so much. And I'm stubborn as shit too. So, long story short, like 12 months later, we built the business that we were just in over 100 countries, 50,000 active members. After the first 18 months, I think we were doing 50 million a year in annual revenue. It got, and I'm saying, because this reminded me of what you're talking about. It's like when people tell you can't do that, you shouldn't do that, you shouldn't listen. Like, if it's something that you believe in,
that's the thing, yeah.
You should never let someone else make the blueprint for your life.
No,
it's
absolutely
your life.
not. If somebody tells you, hey, if you touch that stove, you're going to burn yourself, you might want to listen. But when we're talking about bigger issues, when we're talking about our community, and you actually recognize what the issue is, yeah, absolutely. We have to have a one-track mind. And that's, again, discipline comes into play, purpose comes into play, stubbornness comes into play, thick skin comes into play, right? But the end result, again, my why. On this project, my why is not freedom of time like it was for my businesses. My why is my community has to succeed.
Just empowering other people, right? Giving them the resources, connecting them.
I want somebody to surpass 100 times what I've accomplished. That to me is a measure of success. You see? And because that is generational. If we're able to empower a family to be entrepreneurial, you didn't just help the mom or the father. You're teaching those kids that they can do it, that there is other ways to achieve success, not just go to college or go to a trade school, right?
Yeah.
There's other ways to do it. And that changes whole generations, man. That's powerful.
It's just a butterfly effect of how many people's lives you touch, but just changing one, right? By changing one family, you're changing multiple people's, who then eventually will change other people's lives for the better, right? Like, living a positive footprint in this world is definitely something that I measure.
I'm a big believer that there's no problems, really. There's always opportunities. We have to look at it that way. If not, we go into a negative mindset. And that's very easy to do nowadays. There's no problems. There's always opportunities. Now, Are you open-minded enough to see the opportunities, right?
Yeah.
And have you surrounded yourself with the right people to help you take advantage of those opportunities? Have you lowered your ego and your pride enough to ask for help in seeking those opportunities, which is a big thing for us, right?
Yeah.
See, we still struggle with that every day.
Yeah, every
It's
day,
hard,
man. Every day.
I don't need no help. Get off me, man. I do myself. What's wrong with you? No, man. No. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to ask for help.
Yeah, I was actually just doing a podcast recently with Danny, which is a friend of mine who does a lot of media and a lot of stuff for the healthcare industry.
Oh, yeah.
And he was talking about how there was this study in which like they interviewed a large amount of corporate like healthcare people, like CEOs of like big hospitals, and the whole idea was like if they think that these CEOs would ask for help if they saw their hospitals failing, and it was an overwhelming no.
No, absolutely not.
Because
that goes towards the ego and the pride
Mm-hmm.
of, hey, I'm the man in charge. I gotta have all the answers,
and I think
I gotta figure it out.
you can't be a good CEO when you put in the ego in front of like the people that are at your charge, right? Because like that's being a CEO of a company. It's basically the equivalent of being the leader of a tribe.
Absolutely.
Right? It's the same thing. Like you are in charge of all those people. Those people, if they're your employees, they're like entrusting you with their time.
Right.
They're entrusting you with their livelihoods. If you make the wrong decision in your company and now you have to lay off 100 people, guess what? That's like 100 families that might not have enough for rent next month.
Right.
Or
you affected so many people.
So
and that shows you the evolution of business over the years.
Mhm.
I'll take you back. I mean, you're a little youngster, you're a young man. I'm a little older. Back in the 80s, corporate culture, right, and business culture, generalized throughout the U.S., dictated that the CEO was a hard ass, and he was straight, and he was strong, and he was powerful, and bam, right? That was the expectation of a good CEO. Now we've evolved as a community, as a culture, as a society, to recognize that was toxic. It's toxic, man. You're supposed to be taking care of people, human beings. You can't just be like that. Now you have to be decisive as a leader, right? But where is the empathy? Where is the feelings, emotion, power, all that? Now we've gotten to a place where, right, the leader, the good CEO has to balance the growth, the revenue, all the metrics with making the right decisions for my people.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what it's all about, right? It's like the CEO shouldn't care what the customer experience is. He should care about what the experience of all the employees is while working for the company.
Oh.
You have in most companies, like you have your front line, which is going to be like your employees. And if they're not having a good time, if they're not happy, if they have issues at home, if they're working too much, if all of that stuff happening, first of all, they won't be good representation for you towards your customers.
Nope.
They won't be good with their families, which in turn, like, also is going to mess up their work, and their work is going to mess up their like personal life, and it just all comes full circle.
It's culture.
So
it's culture in the company, and it takes a lot of trust. I think and this is a good lesson for the entrepreneurs out there. As you start hiring, you have to have trust. Processes or procedures are very important. Here's where the structure comes into play. To have the right filters in place to bring in the right people, right? But once you bring in most of the right people in there, you have to trust that if you put them in a good place, if you take care of them first, right, then your client base will be taken care of. Because usually the mindset is the client's always right and blah, blah, blah. No, I think that, yes, we do cater to a clientele as a business, but my employees are my number one priority.
Yeah. Julian, time flies when you're having fun. Time flies when I talk to you. I always get lost in the conversation. Awesome. Thank you so much again for taking the time, man.
Thank you for the invitation. Thank you for having me. This is great.
Of course. Awesome. Every time. We'll do it more often.
I'm gonna tell you though, the name is awesome. It's awesome.
That's
man.
like a little wordplay there, but
I love it.
It's for real. When I was trying to come up with a name for my podcast, it was like, what do I really want to convey? And for me, it is just to help people craft their ideal lifestyle, right?
Right.
And being that my last name is Abad, and I want them to have a
Badass.
badass life.
I need a shirt, bro. You got to give me a shirt that is a badass life. Come on.
You'll get it in the mail.
Hey,
for
guys,
sure.
it's coming. Hey, YouTube, follow, website, all that good stuff. Me minds, right?
Yeah.
Shirts are for sale soon.
Media
Get a
Minds,
hoodie.
Media Minds hoodies. We'll have on the AbadAssLife website. We'll have all the swag for
Gotta have
all
some
the
swag on that.
companies. You know, there's like our main company, our holding company for all the other things that we do. So yes, we'll have everything in there. But yeah, like the AbadAssLife, it's for sure
That's
a cool title for it, if you will.
Well, it fits.
Yeah.
It fits because that right there. That's what we need. That's what we're all searching for, man. Really.
Yeah.
It's just the definition of what a badass life changes from person to person.
Agree.
But the goal is still the same. I still want to have a badass life.
Yeah,
I know
completely true. So before we end, tell us a little bit more about how to find you personally. If we didn't really barely talked about your craft and one of your businesses, but like how to find you. Julian here does a lot of commercial insurance. So for entrepreneurs who need insurance for their businesses, for their buildings, for anything that has to do with commercial insurance, Julian can help you. Also, how to find you, Juan, Smyrna, for the HBC Alianza Hispana workshops.
Okay. So as a trade, right? My trade is I'm a commercial insurance agent. Okay. And we have an independent agency here in town. It's a boutique agency. And we specialize in, again, business solutions, risk management for small and mid-sized businesses. So we go in and we'll consult and we'll figure out, we'll identify what the risk is and what you as an entrepreneur business owner can do to mitigate the risk. And then whatever's left over, we'll bring in the right policies in place and do reviews and all that good stuff, right? Hold your hand on our whole process. Legacy Insurance is the name of our agency here in Ocala again. HispanicBusinessCouncil.com is going to be the hub. And we're very thankful, me and Mike, for assisting us with that project. You know, we're finally in the 21st century, man, because we're lagging a little bit behind. But HispanicBusinessCouncil.com is where you're going to find all the information on what the HBC Alianza Hispana is doing, what's coming up, all the workshops that we're going to have, all the events that we're going to do, some of the pictures of the networking events that we do, so you can share in all the shenanigans that we have going on, right? Social media in English, Hispanic Business Council. You're going to find us on Facebook, Instagram. In Spanish, Alianza Hispana de Ocala. Alianza Hispana de Ocala. If you follow our channels, you'll also get updates on events, networking events, and all that good stuff.
They can also join a private group, right? Because I know that you guys have the private group in which you disclose when are the times, the dates, and all the information that they need to have to become part of the Alianza Hispana family and the Hispanic
Absolutely. So, yeah, find us, shoot us a DM. I mean, you can slide in my DMs anytime.
Julian, one thing that I like to ask all of my guests here on the podcast.
Oh, one more thing, bro.
Go ahead.
We're going to self-promotion now because we do have another organization.
Okay.
The same work that we do for the HBC, I do for my fellow veterans, my brothers and sisters. We have a group called VetNet of Ocala. It is also a nonprofit, a 501c3 based out of Ocala. And what we do there, it is built by veterans for veterans, right? I'm really pretty exclusive with that group, man. If you don't have a DD-214, you're not getting in. If you don't know what a DD-214 is, you don't belong there.
Definitely not getting in.
Absolutely not. So again, it is for veterans and service members. And what we do when we assist there is with entrepreneurship, how to start a business, how to grow a business, how to network, how to connect, right? But more importantly, we bring in the mental health aspect of it to the forefront, where we collaborate with other organizations to do therapy groups and one-on-one sessions, help you with PTSD, help you with service connection, help you with the VA, because we all know how the VA is, and how it relates to your entrepreneurship path, because most of my veterans should not be working for somebody else. Now, entrepreneurship is a beautiful path for a veteran. We've already got the training and the discipline for it, right? We're not right in the head, and that's okay. We embrace that.
See,
we embrace that.
That's amazing. I knew that you were involved with VetNet, but we didn't really get to talk much about it in this podcast. I'll tell you what, we'll do another podcast and like fully dedicated to it.
We'll get stupid on that.
And we'll go over it a lot more. But one of the things that I wanted to ask you is I ask every guest at the end of the podcast is what is your favorite quote or one of your favorite quotes and why?
Oh,
You can take a few seconds to think about it.
The favorite quote. I mean, there's a few. I think that, and it's not so much a quote, but it's a statement, right? It's a statement. If you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. Because I think that encompasses the whole mindset of entrepreneurship.
And the structure part of it too, right?
Completely. Because planning is strategy. Strategy is mental, physical, emotional, psychological. It all falls into it. Absolutely. But if we're not planning, man, we're failing. And if you're not writing things down, you're messing up.
No, 1,000%. Thank you so much for being here with us, man.
Thank
you. You guys heard it here. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So if you're planning on living your own badass life and to start having the content, the information, the ideas, everything you know to start crafting that for yourself and your family, hit the like and subscribe button below. Hit the notification bell so you are aware when new videos dropped off. And until then, guys, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much.